of the Human Relations Commission. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Sarton. And welcome everyone to the 2020 High School Student Race Relations Forum. My name is Wanda Allen Abraha, and I am the Director of the Human Relations Department with the City of Winston-Salem. Each year, we bring this forum to our community so that we can benefit from hearing from our youth. Our youth have a lot of important insights and experiences to share with us all. And most of their experiences typically occur at school and amongst their peers. But of course, this year we're doing it virtually, so it may be a tad bit different. It may be a little bit more media influence than it typically would be. But regardless, we value what they have to tell us and what they have to share. And so we in the Human Relations Department, on behalf of city government, we enforce many of the civil rights laws that are designated under federal, state, and local law. Things such as housing discrimination, language access for anyone for whom English may or may not be their first language. And we also advocate for the rights of all persons, whether they are disabled, no matter the race, national origin, and so forth. And so this falls right into a lot of what we do and what we're charged with doing in our mission. And so we're very excited to do this each and every year. We want to welcome our very esteemed high school panel of students. The students represent every single high school in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Public Schools. So we will be hearing from them just shortly, but right now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our mayor, Mr. Alan Joines. Mayor Joines is with us just about every year, I think, and we've been doing this, Mayor Joines, now for almost 20 years. And so we are excited to have you again this year and to share this with you virtually. Mayor Joines?
Thank you, Ms. Abraha. It is a pleasure always to be a part of this event, and I can't think of a more important time and more important topic to have. And I'm so encouraged every year when we hear from these young people who are discussing frankly and openly and candidly issues that they see out there every day in their interactions with their peers. We can learn a lot, as Ms. Abraha said, from these young people. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank Ms. Sarton and the other members of the Human Relations Commission for your work in bringing this forward again for us. The work of the Human Relations Commission is ongoing, so many different initiatives each year, and we're very proud of the work that you do. And I want to say to the young people, thank you for your participation in this. And you know, you hear it say, it's a trite saying, you are our future, but I feel so good every time I hear the young people come together and talk in these forums. So I wish you the best tonight. I know you do a great job. Thank you, Ms. Abraham.
Thank you so much, Mayor Joines. We appreciate you and your support as always. And so next we have Dr. Lionel Cato, who is Superintendent of Instruction with the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School District. Dr. Cato?
Actually, my new title is Area Superintendent. But
okay.
close enough. But close enough.
Thank you for the correction.
Oh, you're fine. And good evening, everybody. Again, very pleased to be a part of this evening. I am one of the area superintendents for the school system, and I'm very pleased to be able to bring greetings to you tonight. I'm going to throw out a couple of things. I was thinking about this earlier today. We have a COVID-19 pandemic. You know, we're being asked to wear masks. You know, we saw what happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. You know, we've had a lot of debates about immigration this year. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, Confederate monuments, protests, looting. Aunt Jemima got pulled into this situation, Uncle Ben, the Washington Redskins. Yeah, and that was just this year. There's been a lot of things that have occurred this year. And what these things have in common is that they all have racial pieces to them, which has created a lot of conflict among people. Our country is undergoing what some call a racial reckoning right now. And the only way we're going to make it through this time and secure the future of our country is to have real conversations about the issues around race, like the ones that this group is going to have. A long, long time ago, before all of y'all were born, in 1989, there was a song that came out by an artist called Billy Joel, and the name of the song was "We Didn't Start the Fire." You might want to look it up if you like, to look up old songs. But the chorus of the song read, "We didn't start the fire, it's always burning. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it." In the song, he goes through a lot of historical events that occurred and how it was impacting the times in 1980s. Every generation has their fights. And you certainly all did not start this fire, but you've taken up the charge to try and fight it. You young people are the ones that are going to have to fix the problems that unfortunately some adults have created in this world. You are all up to the challenge, and I'm confident that you're going to lead us down a better path as you grow and mature and move into leadership positions. I truly appreciate the work that you all are doing around the issue, and I'm excited about your conversations tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Dr. Cato, thank you so much for those thoughtful comments and reflections. You just hit the nail on the head. And so we really can't thank you enough for that.
Ms.
You're welcome.
Wanda,
Oh, yes. Hi.
as
Next,
a
Ms.
teacher,
Effie. Pardon me?
as a teacher, I want to just tell y'all how lucky we are to have Dr. Cato in our midst. He is amazing.
And that
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. And next we have another amazing person. I got to know her during our virtual student human relations banquet a few months ago, and that is Miss Effie McMillan. Ms. McMillan, you're up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. I just love what Dr. Cato said, and it makes me think about exactly what I was reflecting on as I was thinking about what to say to you in greetings this evening. As Wanda said, my name is Effie McMillan, and I'm the Executive Director of Equity, Access, and Acceleration. And I bring you greetings on behalf of our district and Superintendent, Dr. Harrison, and of course the school board. What a privilege it is to be in a space with such brilliant minds from our school district. I was listening in on your conversations before the event started. You truly are our future leaders. And what I'm most excited about is that the fact that you're engaging in such an open, honest dialogue tonight about race and equity. And this is such a needed and necessary conversation for all of us to engage in. Shel Silverstein is one of my favorite poets, and he once wrote and published a poem titled Mask, which simply says, "She had blue skin and so did he. He kept it hid and so did she. They searched for blue the whole life through, then passed right by and never knew." This poem to me underscores not only self-acceptance, but acceptance of others and shared knowledge, openness in all its forms. So I am truly thankful that the Winston-Salem Human Relations Department is committed to giving you a space to elevate your voices as you share and listen to the perspectives and experiences of your peers. Because these types of conversations help us to build and strengthen relationships across race and ethnic lines and across all backgrounds. It helps us to build bridges between people from diverse backgrounds, allows for healing. As you heard Dr. Cato talk about, there's a lot of healing that has to happen. and solutions to come forth for many of the challenges that we're facing today that are not necessarily new issues, but we're still dealing with those issues. So I know that I speak for the entire district when I say that we continue to be inspired by you, our youth, and how courageous you are. 2020, no doubt, has truly been an unprecedented year with both great challenges that you heard from Dr. Cato earlier, but there also have been some triumphs. But I want you to keep in mind this that was said by James Baldwin so long ago. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. So it's up to us to be change agents for a more just society. Winston-Salem Human Relations Department, all the students that are represented here tonight, and families in our community that is watching, thanks again, and it's a real pleasure to be a part of this event this evening.
Thank you so very much, Ms. McMillan. And again, those were awesome comments. Thank you for your insights. And we really can't thank the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System enough for their willingness to partner with the City of Winston-Salem on this very, very critical annual event. This is something we look forward to every year. We do think it's a very important thing to provide a safe space and platform for our community's young people to talk about some really, really important topics, things like race relations and social justice. And so with that, I think it's very appropriate that we have the chair and the vice chair of our Youth Advisory Council moderating this discussion. We did not want tonight's discussion to be led by adults. We really wanted it to be led by you. And so you have two peers who are very, very capable of doing just that. And the Youth Advisory Council is responsible for advising our department, the City Council, including Mayor Allen Joines, on matters that are important to your age group and your peer group. Also, the Youth Advisory Council is very active in community service. And so they take on a very big annual project each year that they lead. And they do a lot of other projects and newsletters and so forth to make sure that your viewpoints and your perspectives are shared with those who are decision makers in our community. And so we're very delighted to have Portia Smith and James Taylor, the chair and vice chair of the 2020-2021 Youth Advisory Council. Portia and James will be your moderators for this evening. They will be facilitating the questions to you, and they will be your timekeepers so that we can stay on track. Okay, I am going to go ahead and hand it over to Portia and James. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Wanda, and all of our speakers. What beautiful quotes you all shared. Thank you, and it's definitely heartfelt. On behalf of my peers, we really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the questions. Thank you all for joining in. And again, my name is Portia Smith. I am a senior at Winston-Salem Preparatory Academy. And boy, are you in for a treat tonight. We have some really phenomenal representatives from all across Winston-Salem sharing their experiences. I'm going to pass it on to James to represent himself again, and then we're gonna go into the questions. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is James Taylor again, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Youth Advisory Council, and I'm a senior at Early College of Forsyth. I'm very honored to be a part of this Race Relations Forum so that we as the youth can discuss some of the tough questions that's going on in our generation. And I'm very thankful to be a part of this, and I'm just ready for a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Our first question, panelists and audience, is, are you comfortable talking about race with your families or friends? Why or why not? And please share. Remember, 2 minutes is your time.
I am comfortable talking about race relations with my immediate family. So with the people that live in my house, with my brothers and both my parents. With extended family, however, some of them I don't really touch on the topic because it just depends on who it is and what their point of view is and how they were raised. But I've always been comfortable talking about race relations with my family and with my friends, and it's not really a topic that's been really touchy. Oh, sorry, I'm Caitlin East and I go to middle college. But yeah, it's never been a touchy topic when it comes to my immediate
I'm Jacquez Leggins, and I go to middle college. I feel like I'm definitely comfortable talking about racial issues with my family and even my extended family because when I bring these issues up and I feel like I can talk to like the adults and then I know that I have multiple generations in my family and I like to approach them with the things that's going on in today's society and get insight of the things that happened when they were younger and just it just proves the fact that how history repeats itself and it's just low key it kind of give me closure on like where is all this coming from really.
Hi, my name is Ajalon Lash, and I go to Parkland High School. And to piggyback off of what Jacquez said, I like to talk about what happened in the past with my parents, my
Can
family,
everyone hear the speaker?
and I am
Sorry, go ahead.
I am comfortable with talking to my family, my immediate family, and my not so close family also because I sometimes have the same opinion, I sometimes don't. And me personally, I just like to know everyone's opinion. I want to know how everyone feels because I'm gonna tell you how I personally feel.
Hey, I'm Mason Smith and I go to Reynolds. I'm a senior. I feel comfortable talking to my family and friends about it because I know that personally I can get insight from both sides, see both perspectives, and understand that they may have information that's new to me or they may help my opinion and I may have information that will help their opinion as well. And I mean, even if they don't see the same or look at the situation the same as I do, we still may be able to meet in the middle about something that we agree on. So it's kind of like I usually agree to disagree with certain situations because I mean, I'd rather just hear everyone's perspective on how they feel about it.
If I may add, my name is Adrian Akinola. I go to Early College of Forsyth Tech. I am a senior. And yes, I feel like I am very comfortable having that conversation, really because I've grown up in a place where I've been able to be empowered by my family and my friends. They always hold really safe space for conversations about really serious topics, about opinions, because I mean, as human beings, we really have to listen to each other in order to coexist and to really understand each other's perspectives. So I've had the privilege to grow up around people who really inspire me and empower me by being bold enough to have those conversations.
Good evening. My name is Yahara de la Cruz Rodriguez. I am a senior at North Forsyth, but tonight I'm representing the Career Center. And to follow through with what Zoe and Mason said, yes, I am comfortable with speaking to my parents and immediate family about what's happening around the world and just about different races. But as what Mason said, it's good to find a middle ground, especially in the Hispanic and Latinx community, because although we face racism, we have to admit that we have also been racist in the past, and our community just looks down and it's sometimes colorist. And it is great that I am able to at least have that conversation with my family and try to educate them as best as I can. And I try to educate as well the family that is still, how do I explain it? That still has those opinions, to at least set a middle ground. So yeah, thank you.
Those are some great questions. James, would you like to take the next question?
Can you hear me? Okay. So the next question is, do you and your peers feel deeply affected by the racial justice movements that have been occurring over the past several months? Why or why not?
Good evening. My name is Prince Doan.
Next question is,
You good?
do you and your peers feel deeply affected?
Yeah. My name is Prince Doan. I am a junior at Walkertown. And yeah, definitely I've been feeling some type of way about what's going on right now. And like just the whole conversation about Black lives. And, you know, I have a lot of friends, not, you know, I have a lot of people I know that have different opinions than I have about race and, you know, equality. And it's just been very, very holding a toll on everyone, I believe. And yeah, it just makes me feel very sad in a way about this is how we have to live, and this is what we have to go through to find equality within our communities and the world. Thank you.
My name is Elijah Doan. I'm a senior. I attend Walkertown High School, and to piggyback off of what Prince said, I feel that it affects us. It's affecting us because it's really showing people's true colors. Now that everything is starting to happen, even with my peers, it's showing the racial injustice, and it's showing how they feel about it. And even though I get to see their side, some of the things that I'm seeing is you can see the way they were raised inside of their houses and their families' houses.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daisy Bungra, and I'm a junior at Bishop McGinnis High School. Like Elijah said, the past few months, people have really been showing their true colors with their views on what's been going on. And I've actually lost a lot of friends due to this. And it's just kind of difficult to express how you feel to people who have very different opinions from you, and kind of see where they're coming from and be respectful, but without losing their respect or losing their friendship. And I've always kind of been walking on eggshells when I was trying to kind of conversate with people about these topics, because I didn't want to lose friendships, or I didn't want to make other people uncomfortable, because it can be a very uncomfortable topic. But I think it is very important to discuss these things, and I have been with my peers, and I feel as though we've all kind of, we being my peers and we've all kind of come to an agreement that we might have different opinions, but we are able to sort of communicate those opinions with each other in a respectful way.
Hi, my name is Jeree Leggins. I am a senior at Forsyth Country Day School. I agree with Daisy in that it's really hard to have to go to school and act like things are normal, especially for a Black woman that goes to a predominantly white private school. A lot of them have differing opinions from mine, and it forces me to assess what I can handle as a teenager, and a teenager at that struggles with some mental health. And so it's important for me to think about things in terms of protecting my peace and protecting my circle and what I allow in my circle. So
I'm Olivia Moore from Reagan High School, and I'm a junior. I really like that she brought up mental health, because depression or oppression itself takes a toll on your mental health. Constantly pulling up your Instagram and seeing, oh, Jacob Blake, and seeing these names, I guess, just gives you this really, even subconsciously, like it brings you down a lot. And then it's not helpful to have to go to school, like how Daisy said, and feel like you're walking on eggshells around your friends or people that you thought that were your friends, because they are just prejudiced themselves, racist even. And we have to say it, because if we don't, you end up surrounding yourself with people that you can't trust.
if I may quickly add again, it's Adrian again. I agree with Daisy, Olivia, and Jury, and about how they've been affected by all of these social justice movements, the issues against marginalized people. However, I feel like it's less made me sad about relationships. It's sort of made me just really reflective and reevaluating the people who I would choose to keep around me. Forever, I believe in creating space for yourself, no matter where you are, no matter what room you're in. It's not an accident that you are there. So all of this, it can kind of cause you to have something, imposter syndrome, they call it. And just cause you to sort of be like, I have to act a certain way so that these people know that I belong here, even if that's in safe spaces that you believe you should have, like with your friends at school. I would just say that, what I've been trying to learn for myself and what I've been trying to implore everyone around me to understand, especially if you are part of these minority groups, is that not everyone is going to hold space for you. So you have to do that for yourself, and you have to really reevaluate who you're going to keep around and what sort of people you want to have relationships with. And that's just been something that I've been really reflective of and about during this whole time, just hearing about, people showing their true colors, like Elijah said, and people, really coming out and having some very differing yet a little bit harmful opinions about things. And so I've just been able to sort of see that and adapt, because we all, we hear about leveling up, we all becoming your best self. A part of that is the people that you keep around you. So I feel like that's kind of how it's affected me, just really being reflective.
Wow, thank you all for your insightfulness. Very wonderful conversation. So remember, if you haven't spoke already, we have a few more opportunities to do so. And without further ado, our next question is it important for teenagers to be involved in social justice issues? Why or why not? Remember, around 2 minutes per your response. Thank you so much.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. I believe that it's extremely important for teenagers to be involved in things like this, because we hold a lot more power than we believe that we do, especially as the younger generation, and we're growing, and in a few years we're going to be the ones who have more and more power as we go along. And we have social media platforms, and we have a lot more of a diverse kind of community, and we have a lot more opinions, and I feel like all of that put together really gives us this power to make changes and kind of put our voice out there and give people an insight, people like kind of older generations an insight, and kind of affect their beliefs and their opinions, so that we can make our society a better place for people who are more diverse.
I think it's important to participate in social justice, because I always sit back and wonder, like, why they had to be 2020, like why it had to be this year where everything has happened. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. So I don't everyone has believe in God, but I just believe that God put this generation here for a reason, to fight this social injustice, to try to get this out, because I just believe that we can really be the change. We can really be the change that we want to see in the future. And I know from my standpoint, I want to participate as much as I can, because I don't want my little sister have to grow up in this evil world, and with all this social injustice, really.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Aria Vinod from Atkins, and I feel like this generation is going to break racist habits and stereotypes that have been like continually passed down from previous generations. And yeah, we need to call these habits out, and we have all these resources that we can use to educate people and just spread more information.
Hi, I'm Ella Reeve. I'm a senior at Mount Tabor.
I agree with everyone who's spoken so far. I think that we have a special opportunity right now. We have the most access to information than any previous generation, and we have a voice. And I don't know about you all, but I want to be on the right side of history because this that we absolutely need to stand up for what we believe in and use our power.
Hello, my name is Dev, and I'm a senior at East Forsyth. And I completely agree with the people that have gone before me that we teenagers need to have a speak in society. We need to speak in society of the issues that are going on right now, because people say that we are the future, and in order for a better future, we have to speak up now, so we have the opportunity to live in a better future. And we've seen other teenagers that have like taken a stand, like Greta Thunberg, who spoke at the UN about climate change. And we've seen how powerful teenagers can be if they want to voice their opinions.
My name is Basola Fakayode. Okay, my name is Basola Fakayode. Oh, thank you. My name is Basola Fakayode, and I go to West Forsyth. And I think it's very important because we are the next generation, and if we want change to happen, we have to be the people who take those first steps towards change. And I agree that we have like more opportunities, especially through social media, to spread awareness about these issues that are going on. So yes, I think it's very important.
Hi, my name is Hasti Sadri and I'm a senior at Reagan. I think it's so important for teenagers to fight for social justice because this isn't affecting some fantasy world. It's affecting our world that we live in and that we're going to grow up in and that our little siblings are going to grow up in and future generations. We're leaving a mark behind and we don't want to be known as the generation that just sat there and did nothing, especially with all the amazing resources we've been granted.
If I can add to that, I think that it's also important because older generations have still kind of experienced the things that we are experiencing now. There is still a lot of racial tension, racial, things that are happening now in more modern days, and it's still happening now. And so for us, I feel like teenagers taking action now will have a stronger effect because if we don't, we're still going to grow up in the same world and we can't wait for things to change. As we grow, things aren't going to change on their own. We have to bring the change to the world.
Hi, it's Yahara de la Cruz. I completely agree with Daisy and with Bev, with everyone, in the same thing. Being a first generation student here in the United States, yeah, I feel like it is my responsibility to educate myself, and not only myself, but to older generations like my parents and their parents. And for people who say that teenagers should just be teenagers and not be involved in politics or just other issues with injustices around the world, what was I going to say? I was going to say that we are doing the right thing by being involved and staying educated. And what I have to say to those people who feel like teenagers shouldn't be involved is, if not now, then when? We're about to be adults who at the age of 18 have a lot of responsibilities, but we're still teenagers. If not now, then when? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alan Rojas Rodriguez. I'm a senior at Glenn. And I also want to point out that we have an election coming up, and it's really important to get our voices out there, even if we can't vote, to get our older siblings, our parents, our friends who can vote to vote in the election, because that's where we can instill our change, because we can select our elected leaders and we can force them to put change in the communities.
Hi, I'm
Hi,
Yahara
this is
Guzman, and
Drew.
I'm a senior at Bishop McGinnis. And just to add on to everything everyone's been saying, I know Daisy had some great points, and I know someone mentioned that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that everything does happen for a reason, and that our generation has power to be one of the most pivotal generations in history. And I believe it is very important for us to educate ourselves in every single aspect, and I believe we should start to get involved with not just with everything, not just this, with every single thing in our world, with politics, with everything, we should all be more involved so that when we do hit 18, it's time to hit the ground running and just get after it. And yeah, I believe that we have the power to be a very pivotal generation.
Hi, I'm Johnny Din from the Early College of Forsyth. And yeah, I agree with almost everyone that have spoken before me. I think it's extremely important for the younger generation to inform ourselves about topics and sensitive stuff such as this. There's a lot of people out there who are putting out their opinions and inputs on social media, and some are arguably rather ignorant on such sensitive topics. I think it's extremely important for us to educate ourselves so that we can put in a valid input on these topics and have constructive and productive discussions such as this, and hence we can come together.
I completely agree with everything that everybody has said so far. It's not only important to educate ourselves, but educate generations that came before us, because we're not the only, it can't be just our generation that helps change it. It has to be everybody in order to help change it. So it would be easier for us to help further change it when we educate everybody.
If I could just follow up with a question real quick, because I hear a common theme among our panelists, and that's, we are the change, we have the power, and if not now, then when? What are your ideas? If we could just take this question a little deeper, let's go deeper and think of the ideas, beyond, just textbooks, voting and protests. What are some of your ideas when it comes to sharing your ideas further and really connecting with with younger generations and older generations? What are some of your ideas? This is really great conversation.
I'm Jacquez. One idea I had was that I think we will have to start integrating like these social injustices and like more of like our history into the schools, like as early as like kindergarten, like some way to, because it's like when we're learning in school, we learn history, but it's really not some of our history. Like the stuff, it's like stuff in history books goes unseen. So I feel like we need to incorporate that stuff back in, which will help break those generational curses. And then, like I said earlier, how everything happens for a reason, but also like we cannot be the reason that everything happens.
Hi,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
To go off what Jacquez said, I think a major problem in our school system is that we have been taught the same thing every year since kindergarten. And that is when we're put in a place where we are 17, 18, and now we're just now realizing that things aren't right. And I think that the education system has a huge part in making sure that the youth is taught the right things and not just, Black History Month is Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln. There are more people that were involved in that movement. Same thing. There's a lot of the same things that happened with the Holocaust and things of that nature. There's a lot of things that we don't talk about in the school systems, and that's what makes the ignorant generations keep flowing. Yeah.
I agree that we need to start by addressing the education, but I think that we also, in order to see systemic change, we need to start changing policy, and the way to do that is to write to our the people who's in charge. We need to write to our legislative. We need to email. We need to start letter writing campaigns. There are resources everywhere that we can do that, but really we just need to see a change. We need to get old white men out of power. We need to start seeing some diversity in the government. And I think in order to do that, we need to get the ball rolling.
I'm Hasti, and I think Ella, like going off of what Ella said, it's so important to hold our representatives responsible and hold them accountable. Yes, we can get them elected into office, but we need to hold them accountable to make sure they actually fight for us, because at the end of the day, they're fighting for us and not against us. And if they are, we need to hold them accountable and make sure that they follow what we believe and why we elected them.
My name
So
is Ash again from Parkland High School. I'm a senior, and I want to talk like Ella said. We need to get more people. We need to get more diversity into the White House. I just personally feel like we need people who have lived our lives. Like these older people who are in, like she said, the older white men who are in power right now, they haven't lived what we're going through. They don't see what we see every day. They've been living their lives for a certain amount of time. They've been rich for a long time to be in office. They have been these political powers for a long time. And I feel like to be able to get more diversity, back to what they were saying about education. At Parkland, I know for a fact that we're just now getting African American Studies class and a Latino American Studies class. Just now getting that as a full credit. That was an option before. Now it's a full credit. I feel like we can start that in middle school maybe. Maybe add that into the history, just like they were saying. Just to make a change, we have to know more. Because me growing up, I didn't know a lot. I knew the basic. I knew slavery. I knew the Holocaust. I knew the regular presidents, the 45 presidents, and all that. That's it. I want to know more. And I'm pretty sure if you teach kids younger than us more, there is some smart kids out here. Our generation is pretty smart. We can have the next president on this call right now, and we will never know until the time comes.
So some ideas that we have that is, I think it's mostly related to education with these issues. So we learn about like the Civil War since elementary and middle school, but all we learn about are some of the battles that happened, and like Abraham Lincoln, he was the president during the Civil War, but we don't learn about the main issues that happened because of the Civil War until we get to high school. And I think these are some of the issues that need to be talked about, at least in middle school, so they can get a good education, and at least more in high school. Because even if we talk about some of the issues, we don't go into enough depth about these issues and specific things that happened during those times so we can learn from them. We just talk about things in general, like there was racism in the Civil War and there was slavery, but we need to go into more depth with more stories so we can learn what happened back then.
To carry,
It's Jacquet. I'll go ahead.
Sure.
It's Jacquez. I'm in 12th grade, and to add what he said, how we need to change our history books, I think like we need to also change the history in our city. I know we go to different cities and we see like they have a historical area or like historical plaques, and I just feel like some of those, like he said, have deeper meaning. Like for example, in my history class, we just talked about westward expansion, and we talked about how some of these history plaques covered up what the actual Native Americans went through. And I just feel like that is a major problem that hasn't been discussed. I feel like it's on that level with Black Lives too.
As I'm Elijah Bethune, I'm a senior. I go to Walkertown High School, and as my teacher, Mr. Brooks, said, the education system he's a white male, and he says the education system teaches white education, especially in history books. And I feel that if we change it, on top of learning and breaking cycles, I feel that it also allows black kids and young black kids to see something like there's more than just the bad stuff that they're doing. I feel like it shows how smart and how much black people contributed to America, and when they see that, they're like, oh wow, I my ancestors and my ancestors actually laid the playing ground and laid the bricks down for America.
It's Prince from Walkertown High School. I am a junior again. To add on to what Elijah said, definitely our teacher, Mr. Brooks, I had him for world history, and then Miss Hall, we've seen and learned a lot of things about the negative aspects about Black culture and how that we were slaves and all the other. So we never really see the good parts of it, like what we created, the culture that we're incorporating in our lives today, like the the values that we have and we put in our country today, like songs, music, art, just everything that we put forward to, it's not really talked about and celebrated in school in our curriculum, which should be changed in a a different way, definitely.
As I'm hearing a lot of your answers, one word is popping up, and that word is perspective. And I think that leads into this next question. Have the recent social justice issues across the country affected how you personally view race? How?
Hi, my name is AJ McQuilkin. I'm a junior at Forsyth Country Day. And the recent events nationally has definitely changed my personal perspective because admittedly, I was very ignorant to the struggles of people that weren't like me across the country. And with everything coming into the news and becoming so much more of it coming into light, it forces you to reconsider your opinions on a lot of things. And it forces you to really think about why you think different things, like the difference between having like an anxiety over like social anxiety, or is it more of like a prejudice that's been like systematically rooted into you, and it's something that you have to learn to deal with and learn to overcome.
It's Adrian from early college. I'm a senior. I would say that my views on race have been a little more back burner, if that makes sense. Like growing up, I kind of felt like, well, I'm just like everybody else and they're going to respect me the way that, but those notions were quickly laid to rest by the environment that I ended up going to school in. I went to a predominantly white private school, and being in that environment really caused me to have sort of the same views that I have now on race and about race relations. I really, in light of everything that's been going on, I would say that the way that it's affected my perspective is that I just kind of go through each individual story and I try to form my own opinion so I can have my voice and hold whoever needs to be accountable. However, I don't think it's really changed my perspective, because after everything that's been going on across the 17, almost 18 years that I've been alive, I can't say I am surprised. I would say that it's really changed my perspective on how I believed the people around me thought, which was really interesting. It was very educational. Again, that went back to me be reflective on my relationships with people. And really, it sort of enforced the fact that words are really, really important. So, going back to the previous question, I wanted to just put out there changing the narrative, allowing representation for all the marginalized people. That is so important. People may not understand the gravity that has, but it is so important. When you see your little siblings, hold their faces and be like, you are beautiful, you are intelligent, you are blessed, you are highly favored, everything, you just speak that into their lives, because without that, any darkness, anything that the world has to give, any sort of marginalization, any sort of you don't belong here, can seep in easily, and they won't be able to assert themselves and speak up for themselves. So really, with everything that's going on, that is one of the most important things that I have found out. Like, just really affirm yourself, affirm your brothers and sisters, affirm your community members, because that is so important. And people will hear it's like really cliche. It's words matter, sticks and stones can break your bones. Words really do matter. Representation really does matter. And I think that is really been my perspective in light of everything that's been going on.
I really, really, really liked what you said. Like, oh my gosh, that's exactly, I was going to say something similar, except that the flip side, the negative of it is that, and I know a lot of people of color have experienced this, internalized racism and colorism is crazy. It's crazy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know, like, I I lived in Kentucky for a little bit in a rural part for a few years. And I was the kind of person that tell you, oh, you shouldn't see color. Like, you know, I wasn't even seeing myself. And I was just really like kind of pushing away my culture and pushing away things about myself that was important because, oh yeah, I want to fit in, or oh, this is what everybody else is doing. And what you said about representation, I didn't see little Black girls on Disney Channel. I didn't see Black families. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see them really just in music, but that was it. And I didn't have anybody to look up to. So and nobody really told me otherwise, especially living in places and going to predominantly white schools. So I found myself kind of pushing away everything that I should be caring about in terms of my culture and being African American. And I feel like internalized racism is a thing that like all people of color have went through, where we'll find ourselves and people will be like pushing you too. They'll be like, oh, you sound white, or you sound like you don't act very Black and stuff like that. Like, what do you even mean saying that? Because that's an insult to people in my community, saying that, oh, I'm smarter because of the way that I sound, because I don't sound like who somebody that's stereotypically Black or Hispanic or Chinese should sound. So it's not okay. But yeah.
I'd like to kind of emphasize it as much as humanly possible. Like Olivia and Aden, I went to predominantly white schools my entire life, and just being surrounded by people who didn't look like me made me feel so small and so much like I was so much less than everybody else. And like trying to live up to specific beauty standards that wouldn't fit me, it was so detrimental to me and my mental health and my outlook on life and race. But recently, it's been such a journey kind of embracing who I am as a person and embracing being Black, being African American, and kind of realizing how much of a voice that I have and how much light I can shed on my experiences and how much value being Black holds in today's modern world.
That is so-
My name is Sheila Robinson. I go to Winston-Salem Prep, and I feel like it hasn't really changed my perspective, really. But I will say that it's kind of changed my friends due to the fact that I feel like if you're silent right now, everything that's happening in the world, you're part of the problem. Really, if you're just sitting there being silent, you're not contributing to helping change the problem or nothing like that. You're just being there, and it's nothing you can do to really help if you're silent due to the fact that you're silent, really.
To add on, I'm Jaquez. I'm in 12th grade in middle college. To add on what Adon said, how we have to change the narrative and how our words matter. I know this quote that my coach taught us, and it was saying, "Don't let the meaning and the message get lost in your language," meaning that the way you speak to people really matters. And when you're coming in conflict with someone that disagrees with you can't let, like the quote says, you can't let that meaning that you're trying to get across get lost in how you speak to people. Like, in the way being in quarantine, the way it changed my perspective looking at race is how I view people when they speak to me. So like if I post something about Black Lives Matter and someone swipes up on my story to disagree, like I make sure I don't approach them in a disrespectful way. I try to make sure I get my point across and make sure the message I'm getting across is meaningful to help educate them.
Hi, my name's Hosti, and I'm a senior at Reagan, and I really wanted to like re-emphasize what Olivia had stated earlier, because I think that the words like you're the whitest. Like, I heard these even when I was growing up, and it's like, you're the whitest non-white person I know. And I think hearing that as someone who like is surrounded by so many white people and people who don't look like them or have their representation, especially at such a young age when you're supposed to be like, when you're the most influential, is so damaging, because it makes you feel as if you have to try harder than everyone else to fit in. You have to try harder. You can't bring I didn't bring the same things we had for dinner out to lunch. I forced my mom to go buy Lunchables. I was like, Mom, we cannot have our cultural food at school. And then once I got to high school and I became more comfortable in myself and I surrounded myself with people who helped me become more comfortable in myself, I really saw like the toxicity that those words provided for me throughout my life, and it really changed my perspective.
Ms. Prince, again, just to add on to what Olivia said about the internalized racism and discrimination. As growing up, being from Africa and being born from Africa, it's in Africa, it's like, I know a lot of people talk about not say anything because it never happened to them. So like, I feel like if I wasn't talked about or bullied in the elementary school, in my middle school years, about being African or being called certain names, being like, being too dark and stuff like that, it wouldn't have changed my perspective. What I'm talking, like, that's still happening today. Like, most people are not talking about what's going on because it never happened to them. And, being in a position that happened to me and friends, family, it's just like, it changed my perspective of how I feel today and how we go about, trying to abolish discrimination like this.
Wow, this is some really great conversation. We're hearing a lot of language that helps us to imagine these students and what they're facing, and the idea of silence, which follows up perfectly with our next question. And I would like to also say that if you haven't spoken already, or if you haven't spoken that much, there's still time to, you can still share your story and some of the concerns that are pressing to you. How will the current awareness of race relations and social justice affect your school's environment, both online and in person?
Hello, I'm Devin Mean and I'm a senior at East Forsyth. So the events that have happened this year, I think has really changed online schooling for me, especially this year. Because before this, we wouldn't really get into much about history or like Black Lives Matter, except in like social studies or history. But earlier this year in my AP Lit class, we read All American Boys, and how that protest really affected how two high school kids that didn't really even supported each other. And there was this one Quinn who had this he had this like older brother sort of, but he saw that he beat up this harmless black kid, and he supported I think Rashad, even though they didn't know each other. And we see that this is the first time I've like really seen that school has turned sort of into talking about matters like that happen in sort of real life rather than just textbooks.
Hi, my name is Yahara de la Cruz. I'm sorry. Hi, my name is Yahara de la Cruz Rodriguez, and I'm representing the Career Center. I am a senior. And to go off what Dev said, yeah, the school system, the education system is affected or should be affected by discussing more of current topics, not just history and what happened, although we should, because we're trying to prevent history from repeating itself, which currently, as we see, it is. But what I feel is that teachers and students, we should start, talking to our teachers about current topics. Like, I right now have my career center teacher, and every day we talk about topics that are happening globally, topics that are happening in the United States, in our state, in our community. And I feel like that's great because we're staying educated day by day and not just choosing to be ignorant to what's happening around us. So thank you.
My name is Basola Fakayere, and I go to West Forsyth. And I think before like all this has been happening, racial issues have kind of been like swept under the rug in schools. Like you'll see things happening in the news, but you would go to school and it'd be kind of like nothing's happening, wasn't talked about, like teachers didn't have discussions in their classes. But now with like it's on the news everywhere, social media, you can't ignore it. Like people are talking about it whether you want to or not. So I feel like the environment is changing in that way, that people are actually talking about it.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Kanaji Gilba. I'm a freshman at Paisley IB Magnet School. And with everything that happened with race this year, I feel like race-related topics are going to be incorporated a whole lot more into the school system, it seems like. And that's a good thing because we do need to talk more about race and be more comfortable with that because we are, young people who will influence the future, and a whole lot of that will be based off of the choices we make. And I am a bit disappointed that it took all this stuff like rioting stuff for us to actually start incorporating these topics into school, and we should have been talking about these things.
I'm Caitlin East, and I'm a senior at Middle College. So as Jacques said earlier, at our school, we're started a club on peace relations that has to do with race and things like that, and talking about current topics. And I wish that we had formed it earlier because going off of what you just said, it has always been a problem, and we are only just now addressing it when we should have addressed it a lot earlier. And luckily we are finally doing so, and hopefully that we can start creating that change and actually start talking about it and it not being such a touchy topic to go on to.
Hi, my name is Anaya Rice. I'm a junior at Glenn. I also feel like with schools, this creates a lot of community, but also a lot of division. You're going to have those people who are in your classes who say, this doesn't affect me, so I don't care about it. I'm not going to look into it. But that's a very harmful, ideology to have because these are real people's lives. People actually are experiencing this. We are living through a civil rights movement right now, whether you want to be a part of it or not. So I feel like with school, it is creating community, but it does also create division on the other hand.
Hey, it's Mason. I'm a senior at Reynolds. And like Anaya said, I feel like it's going to be a touchy subject for teachers and other Caucasian individuals to speak about because they may be afraid to say the wrong thing about it to us. But like I said earlier, I'm one to try to look at it from both perspectives. So if you feel some way about it, I mean, I'd rather you say it and then we can educate each other about why we feel that way. So I feel like, and you know how we have the Black History Month, some teachers may be scared to talk about Black history throughout the year because they're afraid they may lose their job or anything like that or offend somebody. So that's why I feel like we should talk about it more throughout the school year and emphasize it more into the curriculum because it's only really talked about in that Black History Month area. Like when that time comes around, that's really the only time that they really touch on the subject. And I feel like it should be touched on more than just Black History Month.
I just want to last Parkland and a senior, I'm sorry. And to piggyback off of what Mason and Anaya just said,
Excuse me,
it's going to be
please
very
turn up your
touchy.
volume.
I feel like,
Excuse me, can you turn up your volume?
yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're fine. To piggyback off of Mason and Anaya, I feel like at my school specifically, it may be very touchy because my school is opposite from a lot of schools. Parkland is mostly African American and the Hispanic community. We have, of course, a substantial amount of white and Caucasian, but it's outweighed by the rest of us. And I feel like some teachers will be afraid, just like Mason said, to speak on it because they might feel that they might get ganged up on because of it's more people who feel a certain way than their feelings, and I don't think it should be like that. I think, like Mason said, we all should be able to educate each other and should be able to talk about it and get it out and understand. Because if we want to make a change, if we don't understand, if a teacher doesn't understand where I'm coming from, there some people don't want to understand, and I feel like they should open their mind frame.
It's Prince again. Just to add on to what Mason and I said about schools and teachers saying, just teaching about the Black history. I've, I think most of y'all probably had it too. When a teacher speaks about a certain culture, and they look back at you and be like, just make sure they're not offending you or something. You know what I mean? To make sure they're not offending you. And yeah, it is a touchy subject. But would you rather have that education in school than what we're going through now? So it's better being educated on what what's going on now. Events happening now.
This is Anaya Rice from Glenn. I feel like that a lot of the times we're scared to have these discussions because we don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. But people have to be uncomfortable. We have to start talking about it and just let people be uncomfortable. We can't have room for racism. We can't have room for racist. So I feel like a lot of it just starts with discussion and saying like, this might make you uncomfortable, but this is how I feel. This is what I go through. We can't have room for people who have hatred beliefs towards other people.
To
No,
what
you can go.
Okay, thank you. To add on to what Anaya just said, it has always been a really touchy subject at my schools, being that my schools are again predominantly white. And I've always felt, I myself have sometimes felt uncomfortable talking about these subjects because I am the odd one out. I am the one Black kid in a class full of white kids, and I don't know who feels however way about the subject. I don't know who will have my back. I don't know if everyone will be against me. And I feel as though a lot of the times I am just referred to as that one angry Black girl who's always going to argue with you whenever I bring up subjects like this. But the atmosphere at my school has really changed over this past year, in that people are becoming more comfortable. People, meaning the white students at my school, are becoming more comfortable with sharing their views as well, so that they're not exactly as concerned with fitting in with the rest of the students, but they will talk about subjects like this and talk about like race relations like this and support the diverse students at the school, because they have sort of realized how important it is to show that they understand what's going on in our world and they're trying to do something to help.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I think we just got a question from the viewers. So this question is, do you feel like your teachers support the concerns you are sharing and facilitate positive conversations?
To answer that question, really overall, I think there is a sense of oppression in classrooms. I know before all this happened, even before I went to middle college, I attended Reagan High School, and I, like Daisy, I was that one Black kid in a predominantly white class. And whenever we watch movies or shows that like it talks about Black people, I just feel like there's a really sense of oppression. Even before that, growing up in like kindergarten and elementary and middle school, I just think we need to better educate teachers, because it's like with people of color, the teachers I've experienced, it's like they don't want to see a Black educated kid win in society, or like it's like they get some type of funny way when they hear a young Black kid or any kid of color talk in a proper or have very good intellect. So really the whole problem is, I think we just need to try to create diversity with and just help them get better education.
Just to go off on what Jacques was talking about with teachers, yeah, definitely. I feel like there's certain teachers that show like fake support because it is a school environment and they don't want students to, act out in a way. But there are teachers that show genuine love and concern to the topic, which is very, very important, because having like an adult of another race, or like someone that is not like going through the same thing you're going through, it really helps to see that people are involved, they're concerned, they want to see change. And definitely I want to see teachers be more educated and see diversity. Like, we have a Latino teacher, a Black teacher, just different races talk about their education and what their opinion is on the topic, for sure.
I wanna.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to kind of go on what Jaka said. I go to Reagan, and I'm a junior at Reagan, and I think a lot of times I feel like teachers, or at least with my experience, teachers aren't always really on your side, and I think as like a person of color, an experience that I think all people of color have had is, oh, if they're talking about immigration or something like that, they'll turn around and look at you. Or if they're talking about slavery in a video, they're going to turn around and look at you, and everyone looks. And it's like, what are you, and I feel like, especially my speech and debate class, every single kind of more, like every issue that was focused on race or focused on LGBTQ stuff, I was having to defend like everyone, like every single marginalized group. Yeah, here's this reason, here's why I understand this, and everyone was turning around, and I think personally, the teachers are gonna have to be a lot more understanding. And going on just a little bit on the other question about what we should do to fix that, teachers need training on race relations. Teachers need to know that like I have never experienced last year, worst experience with a teacher and just targeting me on any race related issue, and I hated it. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is I feel like we have been way, way, way too quiet. We need to call out teachers. You can report a teacher. I'm that girl that will get a teacher fired if I have to. And I hate to say that, but it's like, we can't have that. We can't. And I think personally with what Prince was saying, we've experienced a lot of this stuff, and we can't let it happen. And I was saying that too. There's no room for racists. So we have to start taking like response, or kind of recognizing that they're the problem and fix it,
Hi, I'm Yahara de la Cruz. I'm sorry. I'm from the Career Center and I'm in 12th grade. And going off what Olivia said and a lot of other people, yeah, I feel like teachers should be educated, because as a woman of color, I'm part of the Hispanic / Latinx community, and a woman, I just always feel like I have to prove myself to teachers and to other administrators and just personnel around the school because of the way I talk. I go to North and I grew up like talking in slang, saying like a lot, using a lot of abbreviations. And I had, not to say anything, but I have a 4.0. And my teachers always seem to look down on me just by the way I'm talking, or sometimes by the way I'm dressed. And I feel like teachers should be educated, not to get, teachers should be educated to reflect on their own prejudice and internal racism. So yeah, thank you.
If I may jump in, hi, it's Adrian again from early college, 12th grade. I really appreciate all the discussion. I just wanted to add that about the environment, about teachers, I believe that I am privileged enough to go to a school where the majority of the teachers have at least some form of professional discussion and openness for discussion. I can't say that for every other neighboring school though. So that's what I hope to see is that environments really change in relation to students of color, in relation to marginalized groups that may attend those schools. And I want them to change in the fact that we need to stop expecting every one Black kid, every one Hispanic kid to be the Jesus or the Moses of Black, Hispanic, LGBTQ, everybody. We need to stop expecting that. Like, I didn't come to school to advocate for everybody with brown skin. I came to learn, I came to get my 4.0, I came to graduate and go to a good school and live my life. I am not responsible for educating. That is the teacher's responsibility. I don't get paid to teach everyone around me how to be respectful, you know? So I think that what I really want to see, rather than just open conversation, because with that comes the expectation for, or the obligation for me as a Black girl in the midst of white students, in the midst of anyone who is not Black, non-Black POC, to sort of be like, well, actually, this is what happened, or, well, actually, it's not my job to educate. It is everyone's individual job to educate. And that is why, I don't remember who mentioned it, educating teachers, something that gets thrown around in my house a lot is implicit bias training, okay? We need to have everyone, especially teachers, especially people who are responsible for forming the minds of the young people. We need to have us all just think back, like, when have I pushed the responsibility of educating people onto a marginalized group, onto a person who's part of that marginalized group? When have I said something that was potentially racist? When have I said something that pushed or perpetuated stereotypes? People speak and we don't always understand the undertones. We don't understand the subconscious meaning behind everything that we say, but you never know the person who's hearing that and is internalizing it. You never know the little Black girl, the little Hispanic girl, the little Hispanic boy, the little Hispanic non-binary who's sitting here like, oh, so I guess that's how I'm meant to fit into society. It defines a lot. So I would say that while I appreciate my school for being pretty open for the most part, I wouldn't say like everyone's like defensive against it. I would say that what I would love to see is implicit bias training, more effort put into people really understanding their prejudices and really curbing them in order to have a society where we can all coexist and have diversity and have inclusion.
Since we're on the topic of teachers, I think it's only right to ask his last question. And this question is, how open and receptive is your school to racial and cultural exceptions? And this can be administration or it can be your teachers and even your student body if you want to say that too.
I'm Hosty. I'm a senior at Reagan, and I think that teachers going off, they do really have such an influence on people. And there's certain teachers at Reagan who, you know, that if you're in their class and you're a minority, you are going to be targeted. Some teachers are going to try to argue with you, and they are going to alienate you, and they're going to tend to give voice to those who are hating on you or who are trying to maybe have a different opinion than you rather than letting you speak. And I think that culture at Reagan is very prominent at Reagan through many teachers' classes, and it shouldn't be tolerated in any high school in our country. And because it doesn't only show minorities that they should have to like defend their culture, but it also shows other students, white students, that that's the norm and that's okay, and that just shouldn't happen.
Hey, it's Mason Smith. I'm a senior at Reynolds. I know that a few teachers at Reynolds, like I'm going to say Miss Sarton for one. I've never personally had her class, but I've know a few friends that have actually had her class, and I've been in her class before, and I see that the space that is in her class is very welcoming. Like if you're a minority, if you're colored, whatever, it doesn't matter what you are. She's very accepting of any of her students, and it's a few teachers like that. But then there's also teachers there that that aren't as accepting or understanding to certain things that we may go through, and they don't, and they just look at it from the outside. So I mean, there are some teachers that I can say that are accepting and they're in opening arms for anything that you need.
Hi, my name is Jury Leggins. Oh, I'm sorry.
You go ahead. You go.
My name is Jury Leggins. I'm a senior at Forsyth Country Day. I have the privilege to have so many resources at Forsyth Country Day. For we have a student diversity and inclusion panel. We have um, things that involve the parents as well. And I just wanted to talk about the fact that, like, as we expect police officers to hold each other accountable when they know that their coworkers are doing wrong, we should hold teachers to that same level, and we need to normalize not knowing and normalize difference in opinion in the workplace, because I think a lot of times, you know, we act like saying someone's black is a curse, you know, that you're not supposed to mention that to someone that's mentioned in white fragility. Is that we more sooner, you know, mention the color of someone's shirt than their race because we're afraid that they're stepping on people's toes. But we need to normalize that, because things won't change until we are comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that includes holding your coworkers accountable and forcing change rather than, you know, a little suggestion or you know, a comment here and there. So
This is Prince from Walkertown High School. Just to add on to what Dree said, that my school, we've seen a lot of contributes to minority groups. We have an organization called Brothers to Brothers. We have Black Achievers, and I think that's with any a lot of schools in the chat today. We have Latino Achievers. We've seen a lot of love and genuine love to you know, our situation and sensitive topics. If a student feels like a teacher is like trying to argue with them about history or about their culture and stuff like that, we just, you know, we Walkertown takes that very, very serious in a way that you know, everything's handled in a, you know, a commonly manner, you know. And I've seen it firsthand, like in class when lectures, you hear teachers arguing about, oh, this happened, this is the right way. But, you know, actually you have another person saying, hey, no, you know, we all have different views, and taking that into consideration that, you know, everybody won't agree that this is, you know, this is the right history and this is the wrong history. You know, we just have to somewhat coexist in the same learning environment.
Wow, so you guys are amazing. That, I mean, that's just an understatement. We had a question by a teacher, and it is, as a teacher, when I bring up race issues with my predominantly white students, there is silence. Have you had productive conversations about race? What catalyzed the conversation? And again, I would like to just call on people, and if you haven't already responded to some of the questions and would like to answer this one, James and I would be happy to call on you. So James, if you want to start. By the raise of a hand, by the way.
Would anybody like to be heard on this question that hasn't spoke already? I'm seeing Jaquez raising his hand, so I'm gonna call him with Jaquez first.
With that question, when we have in the classes I've been in, we had that discussion about race when I was in a predominantly white school. Usually the main thing that catalyzes when everybody comes in is when someone brings up of cultural appropriation. So I just feel like when we talk about cultural appropriation, there's some ignorant people be like, but how can you do this, but I can't? And it just, that just really starts catalyzing that discussion in the classroom with, I can't remember what I'm trying to say. But yeah, just really, that's what really be the main point. Just how like some people think that, oh, they're not taking someone else's culture, or how some people think that other people are using someone's culture as a joke.
Thank you so much. I would like to call on Scott. You are having your hand raised, so go for it.
I feel I'm Scott Walker from Parkland, and I'm a senior. But I feel as though the conversation that we have about race at Parkland are productive because, for one, we're a very diverse school. So it's just like all the minds that are thinking, it's like we're all going through the same thing, and nobody's afraid to really say how they feel about what's going on. because it's not all one race in one class. It's really spread out. And it's like that with the students to the teachers all the way up to administration. It's not just cliques of one race, it's just cliques of everybody. And you know, when you have cliques, everybody start to think alike. So that's what causes the more conversation.
Zoe, you have your hand raised. Go for it.
All right. Hi, I'm Adam from early college, 12th grade. I would say that as horrible as this is, a lot of the recent conversations I've had about race have been catalyzed by death, by Black death, to be specific. A lot of people have a lot of opinions and a lot of responses to the overall emotional reaction that, you know, came out or that was had to the Black death that we've had in 2020, whether it be by illness or police brutality or just any sort of wrongful, unjust death. So a lot of it has just sort of been like someone is killed and people respond and they're like, what is this? What is, like, this is wrong. And people will stand up and be like, well, there wouldn't be this much of an uproar if X, Y, or Z had happened. So that's sort of how, like, the gross template, I guess, of how a lot of conversations were started up. And to empathize with that teacher, silence can be really disheartening when you are attempting to educate people. It kind of gives off a sort of like, okay, I don't have anything to contribute, or I don't really know what to say, so I'm not going to say anything. But I think the greatest thing we can say in our quest for knowledge is, I don't know, because someone knows and someone's going to come and teach you. So I'm really sorry to hear that that's the response. I can't say that I'm surprised, because that is how our society has been set up, to create silence when voices are needed. But that's sort of been the way that race conversations or conversations about the topic of race has been catalyzed for me.
So if you all look in the chat, James just asked if anyone else wants to speak, and again, raise up a hand and we'll call on you, or I'll have him call on you.
I've seen Anaya's hand up first, so I'm gonna call on Anaya.
Hi, I'm Anaya Rice from Glenn. I would say for me, a lot of these conversations start by just saying your own personal experiences. I feel like people don't really realize, even though we're younger, we have experienced racism or prejudice, and we can say those stories. And I feel like that kind of creates like a community with other people to say, you know, what they've also experienced. I feel like that kind of starts it, just by saying what you've gone through yourself, even though we're like so young. And it's sad that we have even had those experiences, but I know for me, I know for other people, you probably have too. So it definitely starts from just like speaking your own truth and saying what you've gone through.
Wow, so amazing. And I think we have time for a few more. Zoe, one of our peers, just in the chat, if you don't know where the raise of a hand is, it's in the participant list, just so you can access it better, or you can just raise your hand and we'll see you. But again, just lasting thoughts or anything, please go for it.
I think Daisy wants to be heard too, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm gonna call on Daisy.
Hi, my name is Daisy Bungura. I'm a junior at Bishop McGinnis. My school does not do very well when it comes to conversations about race relations. In fact, I don't think in the past 3 years of me being at the school, I don't think we've ever had a genuine conversation on this topic. And I believe it's because teachers are kind of afraid of how students will receive this type of conversation. Like, maybe they feel that students aren't ready for this type of conversation, or they don't want to kind of stir the pot between the students and cause tension. However, my school is kind of getting better at dealing with this topic, as like my teacher, one of my teachers reached out to me and my other diverse peers, and talked about having meetings and kind of asked us what we thought that we should incorporate into our school to kind of incorporate this conversation in our classrooms and with our students. And we had a meeting the other day to talk about this subject, because they are trying to make it a more comfortable place for students, so that students can talk about these topics and feel comfortable talking about these topics, because this is a topic that we need to be discussing. And my school is gaining more diverse students, and so it's even more important now compared to last year, where there was maybe 3 Black students, and this year there's a lot more. And so I think they are starting to do better with incorporating this kind of conversation and making diverse students feel comfortable.
Wow. I mean, that is just really great discussion, everyone. And I would like to say that we're, just wrapping up and everything. James and I have had such a pleasure hearing from you all. You all have brought the audience in and had everyone just really engaged, and it felt like we were all in your shoes. So I just want to say thank you for having me ask these questions and have everyone challenge their thoughts and look inward and realize that these things are not okay, and the discussion does not end now. It's still going. So James, any final thoughts?
I just want to also say that I'm very honored to be a part of this great discussion. And I want to also say that this forum isn't where it stops. We have to continue to work and make sure that our teachers in our schools make sure that we are heard and our voices can be heard, because we are the change. And if we don't change it now, then it's going to get out of hand. So I just want to thank everyone for being a part of this forum. And I just hope that we can make a big change in Winston-Salem and start local.
Well, I would like to say that you all are absolutely mind-blowingly phenomenal. May we please give a round of applause or some snaps to our panel and to our wonderful co-moderators, Portia Smith and James Taylor from the Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council, our chair and vice chair. Every single one of you made us absolutely proud. And we're very happy that you were so forthcoming with your thoughts, your experiences, and your reflections. And so you had a very strong viewership this evening, which is really good to know. And we want you to know that we will also be sharing this over and over again. You'll see this hopefully on WSTV 13. I think I'm right about that. Mr. Bell can correct me if I'm not, but on the City of Winston-Salem's YouTube channel. And also you can share the link with people to be able to watch it whenever they want on demand. I know that I saw a question about whether or not this can be aired on the education channel and whether it can be shared with administrators at the school district office. I will leave that to Dr. Cato and Ms. McMillan, but we did see that question from the public. That was a question from the audience. So anyway, again, thank you everybody. We do this every year. So for those of you who are not going to be graduating in June, if you're interested in being on this panel again next year, or if you know of others who would be really good to be on the panel, we do this every September. We usually do it, of course, in person, but if we have to, we can do it virtually as you see today. So again, many thanks on behalf of Mayor Alan Joines, the Winston-Salem City Council, and the City of Winston-Salem. Congratulations, everybody, on an excellent discussion. You were very inspiring, and we wish you well. Keep in touch with us if you ever need us for anything. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.